All right, that's what
I'm starting
that's
up. All right. Hey, everybody. Daniel Char here. I am with Albert Corey. He is the tax man for almost 40 years, and he's assisted over 16,000 business owners to increase their profits and achieve their dreams. He's a best-selling author. His book is The Art of Perception, Amazon bestseller. So thank you so much, Corey. Albert Corey, my apologies.
Call me whatever. You know, can I tell you a funny story?
He's based out of Miami, so he's going to show us how to make money and keep more of that money in our pockets. Thank you, Albert.
Sure. I'll make a couple of funny stories here. Because my last name is Corey, my first name is Albert.
You got two first names.
Thank you. So people, I've heard this a million times. Say, oh, did I go to Corey? Yeah, he does taxes. Well, my friend Albert. And then it coming together, but they didn't know me.
The same guy.
Oh, yeah, I'm the same guy.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome, Albert. Thank you so much. So as you all know, I'm based out of Canada, and you're in Miami. So big question I always get is, how do we invest in properties in the state and keep more of that money in our pockets? Do we have to pay double tax? We have the CRA over here in Canada. You guys got the IRS. How do we protect ourselves, protect our money, make more money, and pay less tax?
That's pretty easy. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you're going to be investing in properties, I would tell you to open up an LLC, a limited liability company. The reason why is if you're in the States, it's the only one that you can have foreign investors. And what's cool about this is when you have foreign, it doesn't matter, because what will happen is you open up the LLC and everybody's going to get shares of the company. Okay. And then once you get the shares, the LLC is not taxed, meaning that whatever the profit or loss gets, it then gets transferred to its shareholders. So the LLC, the only tax you would have to pay, and remember when we talked about this the other day, is it depends on what state you're in. I am a fan of my home state of Florida because we have no state income tax. Now, granted, there's no IRS tax, but if you're in states like California, New York, all the states that love to have smack you on state income tax, you may have to pay state tax, but you don't have to pay IRS or federal tax.
So why do people invest in those states when they have a lot of taxes in
there? Because
A,
they don't know the ninja tricks, and B, it's just that people are like trained. They're like puppy dogs. They go oof oof oof. Okay, and what the puppy dogs say, and all the ninja people say. And we just went off, but it's okay. We came back. So they don't know there's other states to use. They know like, oh, I'm in California. I have to open up in California. Well, they don't understand. And there's even a couple of other cool ones that I found out over this covert is if you go in Wyoming, that you're like undercover boss. It's like nobody doesn't know. Like in Florida, I can go, if I open up the company, Corey and Associates, I can go on Sunbiz, which is where you open up, and put Corey and Associates and my name, it shows the officers. What's cool about Wyoming is they don't show anything. They just show, Corey and Associates, and that's it. But I'm not a Wyoming person. I mean, you could. If you really, really, really want to be stealthy, then it's Wyoming. I don't know why anybody would want to do that, but there is some people who want to be very stealthy. What people don't do is do not. Everybody I hear every day, oh, let's open up in Delaware. Delaware is for all the fat cats of the world. Okay, fat cats. Walmart, I was going to say Kmart, but they're dead. Home Depot, GE, American, because they give you a lot of bankruptcy protection laws. However, for all the small people who aren't going to make, like, I'd say, if you know your investment's going to be like $5 million or $5 or $7 million, then maybe Delaware could be your choice. But most of us are starting out with zero. So Wyoming isn't, and it's just way too much paperwork for Wyoming.
So how would somebody who's starting out, so we're not talking about 5 million, $10 million. Let's say a typical family that in Toronto, most of the property prices are about $1 million and nothing cash flows over here in Toronto. We have to go to the outskirts where you can find something for $500,000 and it will cash flow. But I know that when you go to America, the purchase prices are a lot lower than in Toronto. Right. So the only difference is we have to pay the foreign exchange, currency exchange, and that's about 30%. So when we do the math, if we buy something in Florida, we have to convert our Canadian dollars to American dollars, and we lose about 30% there. And when we buy properties, I think we were speaking about maybe $250,000 and up, they cash flow from day one. Now, right from day one. So how would somebody, what are the steps that someone would have to take to purchase a property in the States if they're Canadian?
Well, first of all, United States, we're not communist. So therefore, anybody, listen, let me tell you something.
We're going full communist over here.
Listen, anybody, in fact, funny you said that, Daniel, Big Dan, somebody called me a couple of minutes ago. You know, it's like to God's ears. I don't know if we can say that on live TV because we are today. But she called me that she just bought a new house. And she's buying it for some, I mean, she didn't say from who, but it's a foreign investor. Most likely it's Venezuelan because they bought a whole lot in Miami because the dollar is crap and they just smuggled billions into the States. So she kept calling me to tell me what should she do because they said something about, oh, what does the owners do with a foreign investor? So first of all, anybody can buy anything in the United States, all right? The only difference is the IRS might make you hold some money, you know, and do a tax return and probably pay 20% afterward, you know, at the end. But that being said, you open up the LLC because the LLC, like we started up, can have foreign investors. That's one of the cool things about an LLC.
So an LLC is basically a corporation, right? Because
LLC,
in Canada, we don't have an LLC. Like we got the corporation.
Right. An LLC is called limited liability partnership or a corporation. Every state calls it differently and acts differently, but they all have the same principles where it's like a shareholder. One of the people who uses this more than anybody else, you know who uses that? Is Grant Cardone uses it. He uses RITs, but RITs is nothing more than an LLC where when we invest with them, you're getting shares of his company or whatever investment, except it's at a bigger stage. But on a simple term, it's just an LLC that he's selling shares of his company, of the property.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the structure. So how do we invest in the States?
Well, what you would have to do in an LLC is you pretty much would have to get somebody to get in, to invest in the States, or at least in anywhere, but it works the same thing. In order to open up a corporation, you'd have to get somebody who lives in the state to have their address. Now I found another ninja trick where there's virtual addresses where you can buy. So getting the address in any state won't be a problem anymore. You just get a virtual address. But in order, if you're Canadian, you need to get an EIN number. I mean, by the way, let me take that back another step. Anybody can open up a corporation in the state of Florida. They don't care. You give them the money, you'll have a corporation. And
how much does it cost?
If you go direct to Sunbiz, direct, an LLC is $138.
Okay, so that means it's just under $200 Canadian. So any Canadian wants to open up a LLC, right. It's about $180.
Okay, but here's the trick,
and
though.
You got your company. And then what's the next step?
Okay, here's the trick, though. But if you're an overseas person, you need what they call, to do it right, you need what they call an EIN number.
Okay.
Which is an employee identity, but you need somebody with a social security number to get you the EIN for the company.
Okay. And what is that EIN number?
What's that?
What is that? What is that number?
It's an employee identification number. Do you know what a social security number is in the state? That's exactly what it is, except from a company standpoint.
Got it. Okay. So we got to get the LLC. We got to get the
Yeah,
EIN
employee
number.
identification.
Okay, perfect. And then how would somebody get a mortgage in the States when they don't
Okay.
have any American income? They got Canadian income.
Well, here's what you do. Now it's now an LLC. What they're doing in the States now, you might not, well, if you're trying to get a mortgage, I know you're a mortgage broker, but in the States, you're probably going to have to show, I mean, at least 1 year of tax return. There's some plans with 1 year and some banks are 2 years.
Of Canadian tax returns?
No, you would have to have U.S. tax returns.
So how would it work if it's a Canadian that has no American?
You know what I would tell you to do?
They would do private financing, right? Like hard money?
Or if you get somebody, you can go one of two ways. You find somebody you're going to pay more, but I'll guarantee you, Skippy, if you put enough down payment, there'll be some hard money. I don't know what you call it in Canada, and they call it everything different.
Yeah, we call it private lending.
All right.
Yeah.
Private lending, but I've always grown up with, my father was one of those, Papa Joe Corey, we called it hard money.
Mm-hmm.
Hard money is not a bank. Hard money is somebody's got too much cash in their hands that they're willing to give you money out, but you have to have a big enough equity, you know, they have to have enough equity stake in the game that they know they could get it back and make money.
So let me just Canadianize this for our Canadian viewers. So we have A and B and C financing, A,
Right.
B, C, right? So your A financing is your traditional bank where you have to show your income, you got to show your down payment, you got to have great credit. That's your A financing. And you get the best rates with no fees. For B financing is for those who are self-employed. They might write off a lot of income and they show a very tiny net income at the end of the year, or they might have bruised credit. So that's B financing. Is typically more expensive on the rates and they have a little bit of fees for the borrower. C financing, which is called private money or hard money lending in the States, is where you don't have to show any income at all, or you could have damaged credit. But in return, you must have a big enough down payment, usually 25% to 35%, and they'll give you the money. Very expensive lending, probably 6% rates or more, plus fees. Now, this is beneficial for people who don't show income or have bruised credit.
Right, exactly. Because the hard money, end of the day, Daniel, the hard money people, I want to make sure, dude, that if they got to take it back. Two things. Let me tell you what I learned a long time ago, if you're watching this. And I realized this with my dad. Can I tell you a little Papa Joe Corey story? Papa Joe did very well in life, but he never had credit because my mom did everything. You know, we're from Lebanon, and my mom, you know, got the credit, did everything. So he never did. I mean, he worked his ass, but he never thought of credit because my mom was the was the office manager. You know, they had businesses, rental, they had the whole bit. But Pops never did nothing. You know, Mom would, you know, he'd say, oh, we're going to go finance from the bank. The bank would call my mom, and Mom would do all the papers and say, here, Joe, sign. That was it. Fast forward, my mom dies after 35 years of marriage. My father had zero credit. Had all the money in the world, properties paid, millionaire upon millionaire, but guess what? No bank would touch him.
No credit, no history.
No credit. No credit at all. Worth millions, but no credit. Until I had credit, and then guess what, Dad? I got him a credit card, and that was it. The rest was history. Next thing you know, every bank and their mother was asking Joe Corey, hey, dude, we got money.
We see this a lot in our industry where sometimes we have clients that they get carried away with a credit card or a line of credit. And what happens is sometimes they will sell their home, buy a new home, and from the proceeds of the sale, they'll pay off all the credit card debts, line of credit, car payment, and then they'll close it all. They'll close everything. And then now they're living pretty in their new home. And then let's say fast forward 3-4 years later, because they got to pay it off house, they got no credit, they decide they want to upsize, and they're having trouble getting a mortgage because, yeah, they make good money. Yes, they got $1 million in the bank, but they got no track record.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because what people, and I, it's so funny. Me and my wife argue over this because we got a lot of stuff paid. Right. What people don't understand is the banks, at least in the States, they don't give a shit what you're worth. They don't want the property back because they're not in a business of refinancing. They're not in a business of, of getting it back and have to resell it. It's not because of the crash of 2008, but they just not in that business even before.
It's a lot of headaches. They just want their monthly.
They want their money and run, right? They want to keep that turnover of money. You know what I'm talking about, Daniel? They want that They want the turnover of that money keep running round and round. Exactly. When they have to foreclose on a house, that money died.
Yeah.
And then they got to wait a year to sell it. You understand? To get that money back in circulation.
And then you got the legal fees. You got the time. The time value of money where you got the property sitting on the market forever, and it's just a nightmare. So banks are not in the business of taking over properties. They're in the money of lending money, and they want to repurpose that money as fast as they can. So every month they get a check. Right.
To reinvest, to give to somebody else.
Yeah, that's it. So what are your best tax strategies for business professionals and real estate investors? How do we keep more of our money in our pockets?
You have a bunch of rentals and you write off the crap. Sorry, can I say this here? You make sure, especially if you have a company, you make sure you have your cell phone. I'm sure it's the same way in Canada. You make sure your cell phone. I don't know if you have tolls there. Your rent, your internet bill, anything. Huh?
Our major highways don't have tolls, but we do have some toll highways.
Okay. How about parking? Uber parking, Uber Eats. It's all tied to the business card. Because most countries, and I'm sure Canada's no different, it's anything that moves the business forward.
So training, mentorship, going to conferences.
Anything. The trick is it moving your business forward? And it should be a deduction. Because at the end of the day, guys, let me explain something real quick. The government ain't stupid. They want you to go learn. Because like when you spent all that money going at the Grant Cardone gig, didn't you come back and make more money?
Absolutely.
Right. So they want you to go spend that money. Because they know eventually they know that your knowledge is going to catch up and they're going to smack you because you're making a shitload of money. Now, sure, you're going to be writing a lot of off, but they want you to be smart as shit. They want you to be smart so you can go and make more so they can steal more.
So how do we get from where we are today to making billions of dollars and pay no taxes? Because I see that Amazon pays no taxes.
It's because they write everything off. It's very simple. End of the day, first of all, you got to understand what Amazon's really doing is, the quote unquote, the company doesn't pay anything, but I'll guarantee you the employees get a check. Absolutely. And then when you start writing off, it's so funny how I learned this the other day, that when I went to go find, obviously, like when you have rental income, my stuff is cash flow. But, when you start adding depreciation in, if you realize, I don't know if that depreciation in Canada on rentals, but, that's like wear and tear on a building. That's what depreciation is in the States. Okay. Well, that's a big write-off. So sure, you understand, I don't pay no tax, because I'm writing off the interest, but in reality, and that's what they're doing, but they are making money, but there's just a lot of write-offs in all the employees, everybody's getting paid. But there's just so many depreciation write-offs or backdoor write-offs that they don't pay money to the government, but the company's making money at the same time.
And why is it that big companies take advantage of all these tax write-offs and depreciation, all these stuff that are legal ways to lower your taxes, but the average Joe does not do that? Why is that?
The American public, the working stiff are stupid. Sorry, can I say that again? The working stiff, it's like I was talking to somebody yesterday. Hopefully she listens to it. I don't know, but I would, and like people, I mean, end of the day, it's about the art of the hustle, and art of connection. You put two together and you make a lot of money. If you notice what really happens, Daniel, in life and success, the ones who hustle got the money and they pay no taxes. The person who's working in the city government, who's thrilled that he gets their check, guess what? They'll always be paying tax because they're thrilled of taking a check. They're not excited to go, oh shit, let me go and pay the money to go down to Florida to go see what Grant Cardone says. Mm-hmm. Let me go and pay the money to talk to Forbes. Let me go pay the money to hang out with Bill Walsh. No, they think, oh my God, Grant's going to charge me to go get the Grand Poobah seats. Grant's going to charge me $3,000 to go down to Hollywood and see to go to the boot camp. Yeah. And all this stuff. Oh my gosh, what are you going to learn? Let me tell you what somebody told me. When I went to Grant one time, my cousin told me, and we just started talking. I tend not to tell people that I go places, my family, if they're watching this. No, because what they'll think of, oh, I can get it on YouTube. And people don't get that you go to events, you go pay for the Grand Poobah stuff. It's not about, listen, dude, okay, I heard Grant and blah, blah, blah. But what you paid for is around other people, to be around people that want to go successful. Because I'll guarantee you, Daniel, the people that you hang out with every day would not have a clue when you start talking about cash flow or how can I build my how can I build my mortgage business, right?
Well, I fully agree with you. I spent 6 figures in training events, and that's why I show nothing in my taxes too, because at the end of the day, it makes sense. Like here's my thought process. Somebody has to get paid. You can make 100 grand, you can make $1 million, you can make $1 billion. At the end of the day, the money has to go somewhere. Either you pay it in a form of taxes, or you pay in a form of re-education or hiring employees or furthering your business, like you said, right? So if I'm a self-employed individual or I'm a business owner, the money's got to go somewhere. You could pay the government the taxes, or you could reinvest it into your own education or buy new tools for your business.
Right. But the average working person, okay, will never understand that. And let me tell you something. And I hate to say it, COVID is going to stand out in this world when this thing settles. You see, in my little mind, the rich are going to get rich and the poor are going to get poor. And rich does not mean Amazon or Wells Fargo or Bank of America or Home Depot. It's all the little dudes who went out and said, oh shit, I don't have a job, or let me go figure out how to make some money. Next thing you know, they're cash flowing, making money. While the other poor guys ring about when's the next government bailout.
Yeah, so what's going on in the States with, I know you guys have something called the PPP.
Oh, that was amazing, right? Yes.
Yeah, and then, so what is that? What are the incentives that the government's given out during the COVID times?
Well, there's a bunch of them, but PPP was the government's way of, because when PPP hit here in March and April on the lockdown, they were afraid people were going to get laid off. In fact, and I know a bunch of people who got saved because the government gave money to businesses to keep people working. Now it's coming due that you're going to have to send in forms to get the loan. It was
Are these loans or are they grants?
Well, here's going to be the trick. If you send in the right paperwork, it's a grant. If you don't send in the right paperwork, it's going to be a loan for 30 years.
Wow. How's that?
Simple.
You
just got to
show money from the government. The government becomes the bank for 30 years.
But what's going to happen is you just got to show that you kept the employee, the whole idea of PPP is to keep people working. So you got to show payroll that they were working, that you did keep somebody working. But even got even crazier that like in my place, or like, okay, it's 60% payroll and then 20% rent and 20% utilities.
Mm-hmm. So you're a tax accountant. So I got to ask you this. What is the craziest thing that you've had a client try to write off that's just way far off?
People writing $45,000 of eating and they only make $60,000 of income.
So they write off $45,000 of restaurant expenses?
Eating.
Of eating.
Because
wow.
He doesn't cook.
And the guy makes $65,000.
He showed 65. Yeah.
Can you write off jewelry?
Well, it goes back to what I said. It's all relative to what you do.
Maybe if you're a rapper, right?
Right. If you're a raptor, and if it was a raptor and that was the props to make sure that you sold enough records, the answer is yes. If you are a normal dude who wants to go on South Beach and try to pick up the chicks, answer is no.
So how do you write off, or what's the max write-off value on luxury cars? Because I know
that's beyond my pay grade. My people are my avatar, my peeps are the middle America. I mean, most of my people, some of them might have a Benz.
Well, not like a Benz or whatever. Like, how do we get a Lamborghini and not pay for it?
That's beyond my pay grade because my people don't make that kind of money yet. And by the way, I don't want Lamborghini people because they're just way too hard to deal with. I deal with I built a 7-figure plus income consistently by helping the middle of the world, the middle of the pack people.
Yeah.
Because they appreciate it, they love you, and they keep sending you people.
They're the best. Absolute best. Absolute best. Okay, so recap. So if you're a Canadian, you want to buy a house, a cash flowing property, besides the outskirts of Toronto, like we know that London's hot, Kitchener, Waterloo, all the outskirts are hot. But one thing I noticed when I've been to Miami for the last year and a half, and I've taken a look at their investment properties, is you can buy properties for about 200,000 to 300,000 American, and they cash flow like crazy. Now, what happens, because we're making U.S. dollars, what happens if the Canadian investor wants to bring it back to Canada? Still no taxes.
Well, no, from the United States standpoint, you do whatever you want. You're a shareholder of a company. It's like, the way to describe it, and we can almost end it at this, it's like you buy stocks in U.S. companies.
Mm-hmm.
Same concept.
Got it. So
when you have an LLC, it's the same concept.
So if we need a physical address, we could use your company's address?
Yes. I guarantee you, you can rent my mailbox.
Okay, so you take care of all of that.
We do all that.
Perfect.
Full service in Florida. And also I learned a ninja trick of virtual mailboxes too.
Excellent. Excellent. So one last tip to leave us off on.
I say, guys, don't use TurboTax. Don't use no computer shit, because everybody use computer stuff always get messed up. And B, start a business. Okay, do something. I think the biggest, to make fun of, and I don't know about Canadian tax, but I know what's going to happen here next tax season. So many people, Daniel, are working from the house, right?
Yeah. Thank
you, Mike. By the way, one of my guys who just popped on, Roosevelt Morris, is a hard money. Hey, Mr. Roosevelt. He's a hard money lender in Miami area. What's up, Roosevelt? One of my clients and one of my good buds. And guys and girls, and everybody, open up a business, okay? Open up something. Let the government pay for your cell phone. you know, there is a reason why that they have, you know, that the Miami Beach Convention, Miami Beach, Florida. Can I make fun of one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
In Vegas, why do you think they built that $3 billion Raiders stadium for now the Raiders Las Vegas? Why did they build it?
Tell me.
Because they're gonna have the largest conventions out there in the offseason. They're gonna get people showing up, okay, you know, in the weeks that the Raiders aren't playing to have the biggest events ever. That's why. Do you ever see people, even Grant? You ever see people have conventions in Idaho, you know, Idaho or Wyoming? No, it's cool cities like Orlando, South Beach. You know, Miami Beach did a whole new renovation of the convention center because they know people want to go.
Yeah.
And they want to have a good time. You know, go pretend you're learning something, and then at night have a good time.
Awesome. Last question before we head out. Have you watched the movie The Accountant?
Probably. I mean, I'm not a heavy movie.
It's about this accountant that's what's he doing? Laundering money for the mafia. And what they got all these scenes with all these formulas. I just want to confirm, are those right or wrong when you got movies that have all these arithmetic in the section there?
I think that I didn't see the movie, but it's probably their formula. I mean, you know, I mean, I could, trust me, half back in the day, half of Miami was Colombian money that was being, you know, Colombian white snow.
Yeah.
Being, you know.
Well, that's what built Miami, right? That's what.
Nah, we've been here 50 years.
Well,
I can tell
where it got to now, right? That's where all the money came from.
No, I think the money started with the Cubans. The
Yeah.
Cubans came in the early 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And they really built the city up. And then in the 80s, it was crazy because during the 80s when we were here, people would, and that's where before they changed the money thing about $10,000, where people would walk up to the downtown jewelry stores in downtown Miami, and they would just hear, I want a $30,000 bracelet, and just drop a suitcase and walk off with the jewelry.
Insane.
Because the jewelry was gold. They couldn't do with the money, so they would take it up to the States, buy jewelry, buy property, and then just walk away.
That's it. Thank you so much, Albert. This was very informative. I think a lot of value for our Canadian viewers. We don't have to pay IRS tax. I think that was a huge myth, or there's a lot of talks about that you got to pay double tax if you want to.
Well, if you have a corporation, you do, but the whole idea is doing an LLC.
Yeah.
And in states that don't have state income tax, that's the trick.
And choose the right state, open a company, and we could even use your address or a virtual address. So I'm going to put your information in the link below. Thank you so much one more time, Albert. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Guys, guess what? This is one of my other international shows on our Facebook, by the way. We already had like 100, about 80 views already. How's that, Daniel?
That's amazing.
Guys, Daniel, say goodbye while you're hanging up to all my friends and family on our reverse live. You know, the taxman always moving forward, dude.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.
Share
it. If you're watching this, remember, sharing is caring, and we will talk to you on another day. Bye. Talk to everybody soon.